Hey, Jeannie Lynch, jumping on real quick to have a quick conversation around the energy of intuitive training, right? Psychic readings, the whole bit. So, today's topic is going to be about what we should and should not say, what gets said that should not have been said, but also those filters that need to absolutely be in place. And I know I'm going to get some kickback and some feedback here because some people out there in reading land think that there should be no filters and we should just give the information that's coming through. And I got to tell you, I want to talk to you. I'm going to challenge you. I totally disagree. And I want to share today why and give you some stories that might illustrate my point exactly. It's coming up. Stay listening. Hey, thanks for staying clicked in, opening up the door today or a can of worms to get you talking. If you're an energy healer or a reader or a medium and you do energy work for people, will you please stay listening? I think that there is a great discussion that we can have as and collaborate together by you giving some points if you agree or disagree with anything I'm about to say. And my intention is to educate. So this is just from doing years, 20 years to be exact, of energy readings for others. And I'm really getting tired. I'm getting tired of people coming in and sitting in this chair and me trying to um, look at things that other readers have said and trying to reframe it because what they were told is just criminal. I know I could actually say that. So, yeah, it might sound like I'm dogging other readers, but guess what? Not all information out there should be given. So, I guess that's right out of the gate what I want to say. Ding, ding, ding. Not all information that is given should be given. And so it opens up the first discussion for this whole idea of filtering. And I will tell you, it's my perception that I have been perceived about being a little too much of the light, a little too unable to go to the dark places. And the truth is, if dark shows up in my sessions, I actually shut it down. I've had dark energy come into the room before, and I've said to the person in front of me, sorry, this just stepped in, and I'm going to actually ask it to leave because I'm not willing to go there. So we need to change the subject. And that's out of protection for the room as well as it is for me. And then if I think it's dark, nothing good can come from bad energy. So yeah, I shut that shit down pretty quick. That's the idea of a filter. But there's also another responsibility to filtering, and that is to take a long break when you're getting information and be clear what the person in front of you's intention is before you start your reading. So when someone comes in, let's talk about intention, the law of attraction, feng shui, energy healing, chakras, right? Without an intention, you have nothing. So if you're coming in and reading people and you're giving them what you're getting and it's just, as people say, oh, I don't care, just tell me what you get. No, not okay. What is your intention today? What can I assist you with? What is something you're working on? Oh, and the person has no idea, then you're really reading willy nilly and your reading's going to be willy nilly reading. So I've said it. Let's keep going. Having an intention set up, we'll call that your baseline, right? And then now all the work is revolving around that. When you get into the work that you're doing for that person, sitter, reader, and you're clear what their intentions are, and now you're starting to ask information so you can attach to that intention or expectation, whatever you want to call it. And you can use words like for the most benevolent outcome, for everyone's greatest good, for the healing intended today. If you ask for light, you will receive light. And this is a great tip and tool. So again, just a suggestion, one of the things that I also use when I'm gathering information is before I give it back to the sitter, I check the three gates. And what that means in Buddhism is there's these beautiful three gates in the path of the right speech. And is it the information true? Is it helpful? And is it kind? You can know that if you know anything about energy. True means light. Okay. Then you're channeling the light. And the light is really all you should be channeling anyway. So that doesn't mean that remorse or guilt or sadness or grief or pain or whatever it is, it's going to show up, right? Because these people and you are in a physical body. So blockages do show up, but the way in which we maneuver around them is so important. Back to their intentions again. So let me give you an example of this that I think is just such a perfect illustration. There was a woman who came in once who went to a reader, and she was in a very dark place. Let's say she had just suffered a loss of her child, and she went to a reader looking to connect and have a reading, and was looking for ways to get out of that pain. And so she said, I'm in a really dark place right now, and I was hoping you could give me something to help me transition out of this darkness and into a better way of thinking. And the reader was pulling cards, which no, not dogging cards, but in this particular card, flipped over a card and said this to this person. Reader said to sitter, oh, this card is showing me that if you think it's bad now, it's only going to get worse. In fact, what I'm seeing is at 10 years from now, your life actually gets worse and you go through much more difficulty than you're even facing right now. See where I'm going? I'm going to use a little side teaching right now. Your job as a reader is to see yourself as a gardener. And what I mean by that is imagine that what you're really giving the person, besides information and love, support, and kindness and guidance, is you're giving them and cultivating seeds. You're giving them information which they either believe or not believe, consciously or unconsciously, subconsciously, right? You know, if you know anything about energy, you know this, right? So now they're taking it on. Okay, so let's go back to this metaphor. The reader hands these seeds to the sitter. This person is at the worst place in their life. They take that information, they put it in their heart, in their second chakra, in their throat, whatever. They're planting it. And whether they took it or understood it, heard it on tape, wrote it down on their notes, whatever, it's with them now. They're starting to cultivate and germinate that. Now, what they do with that truly matters, but just the fact that they have that information and the potentiality of it, that's the responsibility back on the reader, back on you, if you're doing this work. So can you just take a moment to pause and, hey, a quick sidebar. Let's not forget the importance here of free will. Free will trumps everything. It doesn't matter how good of a reader you are or the information that you think you're giving is so important for this sitter. The sitter has the choice to see whether or hear whether the information rings true for them, and then the choice to do what guidance you're giving them. Free will always win out on everything, and free will never leaves us. Let's learn more. Do you have, if you're listening to this today and you've kept with me in this video, do you have a story you could share about whether you've received information that was kind of planted within you and it had an adverse effect on you? Or if you've done a reading, do you have a comment that you can add in the comment section below about what you do to combat this conversation or to give more light to what we're saying? And I think both are important, right? So if we could have a discussion below, it would be really great for other people tapping into this video or podcast to hear these stories and go, holy moly, I'm guilty of that, or this has happened to me, and share. Because I could go on all day about people who have come in. When people are coming in for a reading too, I always say to them, don't tell me anything another sitter said. Okay. Because if I give you information today and it's good or it sounds familiar, you might affirm it. But I don't want anyone else's projection of what they've said interfering with my reading, right? If you're a reader, this totally makes sense. Okay, so we're talking about cultivating, we're talking about filtering, we're talking about saying what we think through the 3 gates, all right? Let's take a little break to see how some of my community members on social media answered this exact question. I love this little quote in here from my friend Allison. She said, "First and foremost, we absolutely cannot use our intuition and give people information without their consent. Period." Totally agree with that. Patricia Cockrell answers this. "I can answer as someone who received a reading and was unexpectedly told that my mom would be passing within the year. It turns out they were right, but I was devastated. I wish that the psychic had said it differently, perhaps saying instead, 'Your mom will face a bad health challenge in the coming year.' It could have been an exit point." And then Deborah Lupian from the YouTube channel The Akashic Records Unleash, this was great response on Facebook too. She said, "Filter? No. Discretion? Yes. There's a reason information came through. As a reader, I feel ethically bound to deliver the message accurately. It is my responsibility to deliver it in a way that the client can hear. However, the way it's delivered is more up to my discretion." Love that. Kitty talks here. "I attempt to deliver it nonetheless. Responsibility with wisdom and communicate with empathy so the message is received right." And lastly, Joe Mui says that the Hippocratic Oath, "Do not harm," applies to the physical and to the spiritual. "I wouldn't blurt out anything that could harm the client or the patient." Let's move on and get back to our video. Thank you for all who responded. And don't forget to respond below. The last thing I want to end with today, because it's really specific to doing the mediumship readings, is to just take a long pause again. This is just a helpful video for people who are doing readings. And now we're into the mediumship, and now we're into the most important information that a reader is going to give a sitter if they're seeking to make a connection to their loved one. And I don't know about you. I can only go from my experience that 90% of the time when I'm trying to connect with spirits, they're going to the way they died. In fact, some of the reading typically ends up being about that. So let's just go to that. You have this most intense thing that has taken place, which is this loss, which is why the person is in front of you and they're seeking connection to their great aunt Alice, or their daughter or their husband, right? And there it is. The most triggering event is showing up, which is the way in which this person passed. This is where the filters have to be on steroids, okay? Because it is important. Sometimes they want to talk about the way they died because they'll know that if they say something specific, they'll know you have them, meaning that the reader really does have that spirit, and they'll talk about things that happened that only the people in the room would know. So I know that from working with people for years, but they're also showing up to give you the light in it, the light in their passing, the fact that they were not traumatized, the fact that they were not feeling anything, that they knew you were in the room, that thank you for the care that you gave them. I could go on and on and on. And in some cases of people I've worked with, the way in which they died has been misunderstood. So I'm going to stop there, and I could share all day, but I want you to share today. Can you share your thoughts on doing this work for others? And then how do you filter? Do you filter? What happens when you get information that you think might not be of service to the person? Do you give it or not give it? And it's not about withholding information. It's really about filtering it and making sure that it's of service, because our job and the job of the spirit coming through, they only want one thing: for you to be okay. So if we're making more damage than we are by giving light to people and helping them heal, we're in the wrong job, and we're doing the wrong job the wrong way. So that's my quick jump in teaching intuition. It's a beautiful playlist I have on my channel. Please check out more if you're learning. If you'd like to learn more, like a session about how you receive information, it's always an opportunity. I do this work for free for people who are on and in part of my community. So if that's you, you know what you got to do. Send me a message. Okay, peace out. This is Jeannie. We'll see you next video. Namaste.